Now is a very important time to step into your power. Internal power, that is. Stepping into your power is fully taking responsibility of your life on a soul level, listening to your soul voice and not seeking validation, or should I say, people pleasing to those around you or those who may try to infiltrate your mindset and influence you. Now, we are in the sign of Leo. Leo giving the representation of the lion. You know, the lion has two opposing characteristics, I should say. The lion on the external side of it shows a very strong physical presence that often, seem to have no fear. Very, aligned with itself externally. And, the lion is often on its own identity being given the king or queen of the jungle, the lion or the lioness. But we see internally that the representation of the lion is having, being tapped within your heart space and having courage and just having this internal drive and willpower within you to dare to be different and go after what you want. This is where stepping into your power becomes your true alignment of your soul. So, have you been a person who are someone who goes out to be people pleaser per se? Like always seeking outside validation from your external reality. Well, this is now a time where you have to become empowered within yourself to truly align with your most authentic self. You see, right now, we have to recognize that given all the alignments and portals that we are going through, eclipses, nodal shift, astronomical and astrological alignments, we are really being pushed to step into our most authentic identity. And that, by that I mean, is really aligning with your soul's highest self, your soul's highest calling. Now, many of us who are awakened are already aware of our soul's calling, but let's just say you're someone you're not really awakened, you're just on a path where you don't know what your life is truly all about, and you need that little push to say, wow, what am I really all about and what am I really here to do? It's really on a day-to-day basis, just connecting with yourself fully. What does it intrinsically align with your essence? And by that I mean just what maybe just stimulates you, whether it's just like puts you in that state. What do you enjoy doing? You could start off with just a hobby. Maybe you're someone you just like, crocheting. I remember growing up and we always had to learn those little extra skills. And even though I didn't become a professional crocheter, I just remember like taking that little, class and learning to crochet. And I do see many of the elderly women, sometimes it's just, they don't even have nothing to do. They just make a little crochet hat or a little crochet scarf. And, it's just to say it depends on the level that you're at. Now, what we have to recognize is we are in a field of frequency. Like I always like to say, the field of energy, frequency, and vibrations. And everything is determined by that. So you now have to tell yourself, align with your right frequency. When in doubt, always shift to the frequencies that matches your soul. So if you're in a state where you're in a state of worry, a lot of people, maybe anxiety or depression, you now have to tell yourself, what brings joy to me? What will help me to tap out of that frequency and align with, where I could feel a little bit better, whether it's just even feeling better of yourself and your circumstance. You see, as soon as you shift that internal reality, your external reality begins to shift. The other thing I want to advise you guys is to just take it day by day, maybe an hour by hour in a day. Maybe you may say like, hey, I have all these tasks to do within a certain day, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna I did this within an hour. Maybe you might need a rest. You did this, but always in your day, find something that brings you joy, brings you a state of internal connection with yourself, whatever that is. You could simply tap into just writing down your thoughts. How do you feel in the moment? Take yourself into a place where you remember just shifting yourself from being in a state where you didn't really feel your best to shifting that reality. Another good thing is music. Music on a higher frequency could always help shift your reality. So there you are, kind of sort of shifting your own external identity. You see, your internal reality and identity, I should say, often helps shape your external reality. So now is a very pivotal time where we're being asked to truly empower ourselves and step fully into our power, internal power, that is. Do the things that really drives your soul. Now, for many of us on this highly awakened spiritual path, we're being pushed into certain directions that, wow, it may be something you've never done. And for me, sometimes it's maybe even things that I haven't even done in this lifetime. But sometimes my soul from a past lifetime recognized that, wow, I do have this experience in it. And sometimes when you're even in a state of doubt, you have to refocus your mindset to see like everything starts with the first step. So you take yourself to being a baby, and all babies have to learn to walk, don't they? So the baby will stand up, the baby might fall 10 times, but on that 11th time, the baby finally takes his or her first step. So regardless of where you're being shifted into, understand that you're being led into your soul's highest path. Now, it's also good to align yourself with people who are also knowing how to empower you on your journey. Like I said, stop the people pleasing and the seeking the validation. Be very comfortable with others' disapproval of you. One person might see something happening on a certain path. You take this step. This is the most, should I say, the best way to do this thing. But maybe you have even tried those steps and it may not exactly work the same way that person's reality shifted for them. Maybe let's say you wanna go buy a certain home, and maybe that person says, this is the exact steps that I take, but you take those steps and it's not aligning for you in that way. There's so many different day-to-day examples we could use. Maybe you have to learn a certain skill and that person said, this is the teacher or the course that I took, and I was able to get this, and like this person and me had a great connection, and it just all work out that certain way. But you go and you're saying that, wow, that person's frequency and your frequency are not aligned together. The certain steps that that person may have taken, you're seeing that, man, like you have to do a lot more to achieve certain things. So you might tell yourself, not everybody's path is aligned with yours. Always go with your internal, intuitive feelings that you feel about something. Whether it's a person, place, or thing that you may have certain feelings about something, one's person, should I say, journey or pathway may not align the same way with yours. So always seek your internal intuitive nudges that comes to you. Connect with your divine feminine aspect, but in this 3D dimension, you have to take those masculine steps to get anything done or anything manifested into this reality. So this stepping into your power is all about empowering yourself to truly become the most authentic version of yourself. Stop being on the blame frequency, and on a day-to-day basis we're often put into those fear frequencies, and even if something don't happen out for you at a certain point in your life, always recognize, like I always like to say, like there's always astrological alignments. Maybe sometimes it may just be your beginner step that you ought to just be in the initial phase of something. And even though it don't work out exactly as you wanted it to work out, that you took those first steps. And there you go, you actually have maybe it's a little bit of your training cycle. But then maybe 6 months from now, you either take those exact steps, or maybe because you have the experience in going forward and doing something, you're now so skilled at it, and then everything perfectly aligns for you how you want it to align. So truly tap into your essence. This is about truly living the life that you are being called to live on a day-to-day basis. Do not let the doubts, the internal doubts. In fact, this is a time, like I said before, like tapping into your lion's essence. So I could use my own example. When I awakened, it's like, in shamanic practices, me, having experience not just from a past life, but, doing my shamanic work upon my soul fully awakening. Recognizing that my power animal, like we like to say in shamanism or shamanic practices, my power animal is of course a lion. And so a lot of times when I get into that mindset where not having those doubtful moments, even having some sort of fear, my power animal of the lion pushes me into my courageous mindset, my courageous essence, and often takes me to, my certain realities where not just that my inner lioness comes out of me, recognizing I also have those guides, that helps me from, the Sirius star system and Lyra, because I too have a simultaneous reality where I, of course, had a lifetime as, those galactic lions. So, this is like, whether or not that you have this power animal, recognize that, yes, we're in this astrological alignment of Leo representing the lion, and this is our time to fully step like the identity of a lion into having that almost fearless presence, that fearless frequency, but knowing when to nudge it back and step into that heart frequency, connect with our feminine essence, and also, just being very courageous. So as we see that the earth is shifting and so much is happening, to always remember that, wow, as much as we have these interactions on a day-to-day with, whether it's friends, family, or just people in the wider community that you have to engage with, you recognize that it's no longer about people pleasing. It's no longer about being in that herd mentality, that sheep group mindset of just following the crowd all the time. It's about fully stepping into who you recognize you're meant to be, empowering yourself, whether it's taking little steps. I always like to say that it's always about your own reflection. So as much as others may give you reflections of certain triggers and other things that you might need to work on, maybe you need to now do mirror work, tap into those shadow aspects of yourself and see that the doubts and the fears, as they say, fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's all about you shifting your mindset and saying like, okay, this fear frequency, saying like, wow, I can't, cross a bridge with water arising to over maybe 100 feet. But then it's almost like you go take one of these tours and these little flimsy little bridges, I'm just using this as an example, and it's shaking and you feel like the bridge is so brittle, and then you tell yourself like, wow, I'm scared, will this, the board pieces underneath, is it stable enough to keep me without falling into that 100 feet of water flowing beneath me? It's almost like using examples like this. The things that you feel are the toughest are just when you shift your mindset out of that fear and that doubt frequency, that you could see like taking those little steps could rewire and reprogram your subconscious mind to actually go forward and live the life you are being called to live. So this is about true empowerment, true living in your soul's essence, to shift away from the people pleasing, shift away from the disapproval of others, shift away from your own negative mindset frequencies to tell yourself you are in true alignment of stepping into your highest and fullest version of yourself. Whatever that you are scared, you feel like you don't have the experience, everybody has to start as a beginner at something. You may say, okay, I have never, some people look at that. You could be a 30-year-old woman, maybe you're single, maybe you have a boyfriend or whatever, you're in a relationship, and you said, wow, I just can't cook. Or in fact, if I cook, it's always burning. Then maybe one day you look at certain YouTube videos and then you learn to cook a certain dish. Let's say it's something like lasagna, which can seem to be a little bit complicated with the steps. And you tell yourself like, wow, it came out so good, in the ending. So recognize that it's all about taking those initial steps. It's all about shifting your reality to become who you're here to be, and not tapping into any sort of comparison, not relying on time, time being the greatest illusion right now. Once you step into a higher frequency, in fact, if you're wanting to shift into the 5D or higher consciousness, you will tell yourself that this mere presence of time, we use it to track our day-to-day tasks and experiences, and whether it's work and whatever it is that you have to do. But sometimes you have to recognize, shift out of time and step into simultaneous realities where you know that you have done and are preparing to do so many different things. So get out of those nuisance mindsets, I would like to see, and just always tell yourself each day is a day to shift into what you're being called to do. Let's stop listening to the outside noise. Sometimes people are going through their own stuff, their own triggers, their own shadow aspects that they themselves need to continue to work on. And they tend to focus on others. Remember, this is a frequency pyramid, I should say. You know, the pyramid cycles of, you know, going up this scale and recognizing that getting out of these lower frequencies, almost like compare it to your chakra system. Like you're going up from your root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat chakra, third eye, crown, and you know, we go on to infinity, but we'll focus on this. So look at it like, okay, you're in your root chakra, all about stability and saying like, wow, how can I shift my reality? But connecting with your root chakra and saying, what do I need to heal? What traumas are there keeping me in that sort of consciousness that I believe that I can shift? So recognize on a day-to-day basis that you are now living in a state of empowerment. Empowering yourselves first and foremost, and then maybe even eventually empowering those around you to shift out of that herd mentality to just say, oh, everybody's going in that path and this is how it worked out for these people, and I see that it didn't work out that way for that person and it's too hard and I don't think I could do it. Stop that negative Nancy talk to yourself. Shift and refocus yourself to say, wow, I'm truly connecting myself on a soul's level, and not because something didn't work out for me in the past, meaning that it can't work out. I'm living testimony that on a day-to-day basis, I've shifted my frequencies. I've tried different things that haven't worked out maybe years ago, and I see in a day basis how I am able to shift and refocus and align with my soul and get these very things that I, you know, would have said that I would have doubted. For example, I was being called to be online several years ago, and even when I first came online, like, it's not that I didn't feel that I had enough confidence. It was mostly that I just didn't feel comfortable talking, you know, especially when you don't have the audience in front of you, just talking so freely. And it's almost like, I tell myself, it's like having a conversation with your family or a friend, or even just sometimes when you have your own little talks. Have you ever done a mirror talk where you're talking back to yourself? So it took me, I would say, a couple months for me to just feel so comfortable and engaging and whatever it is. So it's sometimes when you have to tell yourself, once you actually go out and do this action, not just that it becomes so easy and second nature for you, but it's actually something that you learn to enjoy. I remember when I first started, I didn't even want to be on camera, and now it's like second nature to me. I really don't even feel like I'm on camera. I just feel like, yeah, I'm talking to you guys. You guys are, you know, engaged with me, right around me, and it's like, yeah, it's just like I'm talking to, you know, my friends, my community around me. So please recognize whatever stage you're at. This is a video about empowerment. This is to really to get you to shift your mindset from the negative self-talk, the feeling that you just can't do it. For example, if you are someone who's just like, you know, you want to become this, should I say, a publisher, using this as an example, but you're like, wow, from what you've heard, you've seen so many people write books. Sometimes they gotta write different copies and copies, getting the right publisher and selling your book, becoming the #1 bestseller. You take those steps. Sometimes, like they say, You have to fail so many different times before you achieve. You might say you could even lose, whether it's you lose money or you lose, certain deals, whatever it is. But recognize that all of that is helping you to grow. All of that is building your backbone, I should say, building that masculine aspect of yourself, but always knowing when to draw it in and connect back with your feminine essence. And you one day, just by shifting your frequency, and as I've mentioned, the frequency pyramid, getting out of that lower base chakra, that fearful chakra, and tapping into your courageous frequency, then shift it into just having so much love until you eventually get to the top, the highest point of the pyramid frequency, and you're your most authentic version. Whether it's your most authentic version of just yourself and who you are as a person, and getting out of that doubtful nature of yourself, but saying, fuck it, whatever it is that people think of me, I don't give a damn. Like, at the end of the day, I'm here to live my soul's highest calling. Like, whatever people's opinion are, I don't give a damn about what their opinion are. I'm gonna follow my path, and at the end of the day, I know that source, my guides, whoever it is, whether you have a spouse, children, family, friends, those that are supportive towards you, you have those people in your life. Continue to engage with them. Continue to shift your frequency, and you will see the trajectory of your life change so much. So here, let's just tap ourselves on the shoulder and say, we can learn how to shift our reality by truly empowering ourselves on a day-to-day basis. It all begins with you. It all begins with your internal power and how you engage with your reality in order for it to truly shift and truly align with your highest, I should say, soul's reality. So there you go. Step into your power, because this is what you are really being called to do right now.